for coming. I wanted to have a brief discussion about what the agenda is. I sent out what I had surmised would be the agenda. I met with Marie about a week ago and we picked several of these things. Could you do that on screen share, Joy? I did send it to everybody, but I only sent it about 3 minutes ago. I sent it to Paul and Marie yesterday.
I did not, I saw the spreadsheet. I didn't see an agenda.
Yeah, I just sent it to you about 3 or 4 minutes ago, Evelyn, but we'll put it on the screen so we could talk about it. And
Nope, not here.
it's only a three item thing.
Nope, never got through. Just the, unless it's with, is it with the summary?
Okay.
Let's see.
So, yeah, a little bit, but thank you. This was my idea of the agenda, with the number 2 being where we would spend most of our time. And then the first part, the attachments sent out by Joy, or the last month's endings, which would give us a base to start with, and we could review them. And we may then want to waive the that part of the finance meeting just prior to the board. But on the number 2, I don't have any information to offer. And I know we just passed the budget, we passed the tax rate. Do you have any information that would inform the discussion on number 2, Paul?
Well, I'm a little confused actually by number 2.
Me too.
I always considered the undesignated construction account as basically a reserve. And that's, there's 204,000 in that account. We do use it to match grants depending on whether we get them or not. But as far as I'm concerned, I operate as if that is a reserve.
I think the purpose of the special meeting that Marie called was so that we could begin to discuss the 2021 budget development. And without any material, that just becomes a very short discussion. So I'm not sure how much we can proceed on that item. So what I suggest we do is go ahead and do the monthlies as we usually do, and discuss where we think we'll be at the year end. I don't know how much content we can get into number 2 as an objective item. And then the last is just a couple of sentence updates. So why don't we, if that's agreeable to you, Marie, we can start with the performance, the September statements that we just made.
Okay, I think that that was the main purpose of this meeting, was because Paul wanted to know whether some of the items that had been cut for this year could be reinstated.
Right.
And so we wanted to do it in a thoughtful manner rather than just piecemeal. And that was the reason we called the Finance Committee, to make for more time to do so.
Right. So shall we start with the income statement for September 30th?
Can I just say, sorry, I was trying to prepare for the meeting and I forgot that we needed a modified one also. With the modified,
I
no.
We do. I think
Okay.
in the last meeting, our discussion was we'd continue to have the modified in case it was needed.
Okay, got it.
But given the results of September, I think as we conclude this review, wouldn't be sensible to spend time on it.
Okay, great, thank you.
Right. All right, has everybody examined the income statement, the financials for the end of September?
So one of the things I noticed was that the salary expenses, the staff expenses, personnel, is quite a bit higher than the budgeted amount.
Yes, it's a 3 pay period month for September. That's the only reason why.
You'll see at the end of the year that that will come out, I think, pretty close to the 10,000 in the salary lines
Yeah,
we projected saving. But yes, September is a 3 pay period. So it throws off that particular line item for September.
Okay. Now, because we have been looking at, being under, and then we pretty much caught up with this month.
Well, as I say, by the end of the year, I think you will see the $10,000 savings in the salary line. But again, there's 2 3 pay period months in the year. September is one of them.
Okay.
It throws off the total for the September 30th report.
Okay, I wasn't sure because looking at the payroll report that had been provided, it looked like there were only 2. So that's why I wanted to check.
there's only 2 deposits on there, but there's 3 separate transactions.
Subtractions.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm looking for something. I'll be 1 minute there. I don't think I'm going to do it. All right. What I did was, as I examined them, I did a extraction of where we are for the month. The monthly revenue actuals 380,991, and the budget was 421. So we're short on revenue by 40,781. The expenses, we are at 122, and the budget was 113. So we're over expenses by 9,186. So in a net, we're off on expectations in the performance for September by 49,967. However, it is a 3-period month, and I think that largely talks about it. In terms of the year-to-date revenue, on the actual, it's 1,122,781. On the revenue, the expenses are 938. The net is 283. And I didn't know where to put the 10,000, so I dropped it below. And that's what the document I had sent out to you. So in the year-to-date budget, we're 40,000 ahead of expectations when you take expenses and revenue. And from the discussion last month, Paul, you continue to expect to receive some tax money as in the next 3 months?
Yeah, usually we receive 2 or 3 payments between now and into January. As I pointed out before, we're only about $16,000 short on the tax revenue, so we certainly expect to see most of that during the next quarter. So I think we'll come out pretty well on the tax levy.
Now, when you say we're 15,000 short, could you clarify what because in the monthly statement, The year-to-date budget is 1,128,085. But the collections are 1,162,000. So I don't see that as a deficit. Aren't we above expectation on the local funding tax level?
I'm talking about the total year. The total, right now, we have received 1,162,000 in tax revenue. Our budget calls for 178,000
Right,
for the total for the year. So I'm talking about the totals, not just the
right,
situation. So the total right now is 16,000 behind what is budgeted for the year. We expect that to be made up in the next quarter with additional payments, late payments, and that sort of thing that we get from the city.
right.
So I have pretty confident that we will probably be pretty close to what we budget as the tax levy income.
But we really need to look at overall revenue. Yes,
Well, if you look at it now, I
we may
mean,
be ahead in the tax levy, but we're behind in the other revenues.
well, yeah, but we're also way behind in expenses. If you look at
Yeah,
where we stand right now, we're actually ahead 274,000 in revenue over expenses. I mean, I've never seen it quite that high at this time of the year. So our expenses have been impacted considerably. Plus we have put into effect some, cautious operating procedures. But we are in pretty good shape overall. We expect, actually, there'll be a LLSA check in the mail. It's probably, Joy may already have it. It's coming from Upper Hudson. And that will give us about 80% of what was budgeted there. A lot of the income items, as I stated before, are linked to consequent expenses, some of which we haven't made. So, I mean, like I said, I haven't seen us in a better position ever at this point.
yeah, that was my conclusion too. It's reasonable to assume that we're going to end the year ahead of our budgeted expectations and without a challenge for this year, 2020. And so in terms of needing to look at a modification or limit our expenditures, we've already begun to spend back toward the initial budget on some levels, the materials, etc. So I think it's very reasonable to be comfortable right now. And then in addition, we have the tax increase, which will be a part of our 2021 budget. So without any prepared budget, I'm not sure how far we can go in the.
But Paul had proposed a 2021 budget.
There is a 2021 budget.
Yeah, we passed it too.
No, we passed the tax levy, not the budget.
And that's
Well,
something
Based
that,
on the budget.
that's something that I would.
The 2021 forecast has not been distributed to me. I didn't see it.
Yeah, we have a 2021 budget. And I would like to point out that legally, the library board needs to pass a budget
Yes,
for 2021.
we did pass it.
No,
That
we
was
passed the
what I-
tax levy.
We passed the budget,
Who passed it?
the board.
No, we passed the tax levy, not the budget.
I thought the purpose of this meeting was to take a good look at the 2021 budget or expectations and discuss that. But if you have it, Paul, I haven't seen it. That's why I distributed the agenda.
It was distributed, Bob, and it was also part of the material that was on the website
Fine.
in relation to the election.
Okay.
Let's see, there it is. Is it here? It's not up yet. 2020.
I'll update it and make sure it's there.
Okay.
Why don't you wait until we approve it, because we have to, the board has to approve the budget.
Should I put it as proposed then? Because that's what we normally have it as.
Okay,
So it's up there.
okay. I know that was the description that was used for the tax levy election.
That's what we normally call it until after the election, then it becomes the budget. But I can also look at the minutes to see,
Yes. please.
Evelyn.
Thanks.
What I would like to do is have a special finance meeting on the 2021 budget. I thought that was this one. And I didn't access the material from the website. I have difficulty doing that, and it wasn't posted. So that's why I offered the agenda for those topics, hoping that
It's been there for a while, Bob,
would
but
be
I can,
available now. Pardon?
it's been there for a little while with the whole vote information, but I can email it to you also if you need it.
I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure.
I was
Go
I was
ahead.
I was under the impression when I asked what the agenda for this special meeting was when the Moodle Doodle went out, and I know you had said there had been no agenda set, but it was to discuss the current situation of our financial status and, you know, what we were going to do for these months before 2021, January 2021. So I thought that's what we were going to be discussing, because there are some things that we have frozen. There are things that we are up for October to make a decision on paying or not. And I thought that's why what we were going to be discussing today was those items in preparation for the full board meeting.
And what are those items?
Paul, do you want to take this, or should I repeat them?
Yes, I'd love to. What I sent out, you know, a comparison of the tax levy so that you could see that we're in a pretty good position. And also we now have the income statement, which again shows us in a very good position. As I stated, revenue is almost 274,000 ahead of expenses so far this year. We are being relatively careful. What I want to review is the book budget. That was part of our plan to reduce expenses. Going into this pandemic, we had some reservations about tax collection and that sort of thing. So we proposed a number of items that we could save money on, and one of them was the book budget. Obviously, the book budget is always on the table since it has, you know, the most flexibility. So we cut the book budget in half, which now rests at about 50,000 instead of 104,000. What I'd like to propose is, due to the you know, current financial information, that we restore that book budget back to the 104,000 level. The book budget is kind of critical because it represents, you know, a huge part of what we do and how we serve this community. And quite a bit of it has gone into ebooks and resources that are available online to people during the pandemic. But I think cutting it in half has really put us behind in books, even in terms of very popular material. So I would like to propose that we remove that from the cost saving list and put the book budget back to the original amount.
Thank you. When did you send that? You prefaced it when you sent it out.
What's that?
You started your comments with, I sent it out. I asked, when did you
Oh.
send that?
No, I had sent out a review of the 2019 and 2020 tax collection results.
It was with the Zoom. Is it with that where it said Dropbox? There were two items, the
Yes,
Dropbox information and the Zoom link. So if you use that Zoom link, it's right under, I'm trying to remember which came first. Let me look. First was October board reports, and then underneath it was Zoom meeting. So it's right above the link you clicked.
So it's a Zoom link for this meeting?
Yes, you know, topic was, it was sent out on Monday, October 5th, 4:47 p.m. Topic, Finance Committee meeting, October 7th. Then it has October board reports, and then join Zoom meeting. So it is in one email that has the link that you may probably click to get onto this meeting. And right
Okay.
above
I
it's a
see
Dropbox.
October board reports.
Yep. That's what he said.
Okay, I've opened them and printed them, but
What it shows, Bob, is that the 2020 tax collection figures are way ahead of 2019 for this time of year. And that's what I wanted basically for people to see.
I was curious about there being more than 2 payments in the last month. You know, usually it's 2 payments. Is there a reason that
The
occurred?
controller's office can be curious. When we got the larger payment, I contacted Andy because it was a little smaller than I thought. But he said, wait, we already had sent part of it. You know, it was something like 50,000 before the large payment, which they don't usually do. But I think they were making an effort to get payments out as quickly as possible. You know, because when they come in, they've got to go through all the books and they've got to credit people, you know, and all that sort of stuff before they send the check. But I think they, you know, wanted to get it out early, so they sent 2 checks. And we appreciate their efforts.
We do.
I'm sorry for being a dud here, but I'm having difficulty. I
Um,
opened,
Do you want
can
to
I
reschedule?
finish?
I was going to
op-
ask whether you want to reschedule this meeting so that there's more time to look over the materials.
Yes, that's fine. Let's reschedule the meeting. Now, we could meet earlier than we normally meet before the board meeting. And Paul, I think we really need to sit down on a face-to-face and explore both the agenda and the attachments.
Okay.
Okay. So let's go back to what I think there's one more item on the, first of all, Joy, the balance sheet. I really appreciate the effort. I'm sorry Mark isn't here too, but we can come back to this. It's a big step up. I appreciate it very much.
Sure, no problem.
He's
And,
not coming, by the way. Bob,
pardon?
did you hear that he's not coming?
What's that?
Mark isn't coming.
Okay,
Marcus-
that's fine.
I just wanted to let you know that he isn't going to be
Right,
attending.
okay, no problem.
Bob, also this week, Paul is out of the office. And so next week would be his,
Yes.
yep, okay.
Right, yeah, I can meet Monday or so.
Yeah,
sometime.
that would be fine.
Yeah, I can't come in for this week. They won't let me in.
Then I wanted to update you on the 2019 audit. I did send you an email, so Victor said he will be here for the meeting, and he'll present the audit to us by 3 o'clock on Friday. Paul, have you received any responses to the RFP?
No, not yet. I've received nothing. We're still expecting 4 responses.
If you're out of the office, Joy, could you let me know on Friday if there are any responses, or the
Sure, I
status
can.
of responses?
Yep, I can double check to make sure.
Okay, and Paul, I'll call those who look like they were going to respond on Friday in the afternoon if we don't have any responses to the audit RFP.
Okay. I expect we will, but
Yes, I would think we will. They've been querying you on other things, so I know the one in Albany that we had given. He said he would definitely give us proposal.
So we haven't gotten any?
not
We
yet.
have none. We have 2 of the 6 have indicated they will not be responding, which would leave us with 4 to screen. And I'd like to get them in hand because it's possible we might want to eliminate 1 or 2 and do 2 interviews, but we could start on Wednesday to have our first meeting, but having them in hand would be important. And I asked Paul, and he communicated out to the respondents or potential respondents that an electronic copy would be helpful. It will help us as a group review them. And so tentatively thinking of 3:30 on Thursday as the first time to review. And we didn't firm up yet the attendees on that, but working on it. All right, anything else? All right, we'll adjourn the meeting.
Have we decided then we're going to meet Tuesday earlier to discuss whether or not we're, how we're going to deal with this? The point was, I remember at our last board meeting, Paul brought this up. There are 2, at least not huge bills, but bigger bills that need to be decided on by October. 3 things: the Hoopla ebooks and magazine subscriptions. And
Yeah.
Marie had not wanted to have a discussion about it before we had a special finance meeting, which was this. So we're kind of back in that same spot again. I'm just trying to confirm, are we going to then discuss this before our next board meeting, which is next Tuesday? So are we going to meet earlier? What's
Yes,
what's
that's what I had suggested, that we meet earlier than 5 o'clock to give us time to do that. I think if we meet at 4:45, it would be time enough. The indications when we just reviewed where we are financially is that it's not going to be much of a leap to restore the expected spending to the levels of budget for the rest of the year, but we'll review it again in November. But we can authorize additional purchases.
okay?
Well, will you be asking to purchase all of it, or do you stage it so that we can purchase some in October, review it in November to assure that the income is where we think it will be?
Oh,
Or are
yeah,
you
it's not
going
gonna
to ask
be-
for the whole amount?
Yeah, it's not going to be all at once, Bob. It's also the book jobbers are way behind. Everything is slowed down. So even though I restore, like we restore the whole book budget, I doubt
Right.
if it will be spent by the end of the year. It's just too slow out there.
Now,
So,
Monday is a holiday. Are you working on Monday, Paul?
yeah,
Okay, well, maybe we can meet on Monday and propose, have our recommendation for the finance meeting for Tuesday. And if that's the case, we may not even have to meet earlier, but I think giving ourselves 15 minutes more would be worthwhile if there's any question.
okay.
That's really the question that we're trying to answer. Do we feel comfortable restoring the money to the book line, the
Exactly.
materials line,
Yeah.
rather than doing it piecemeal? Because that holds things up. And as Paul said, the things are backed up with the purchases anyway. So
Yeah.
if we can feel comfortable in restoring most or all of the materials budget, I think that's the right thing to do. You're also mentioning the other lines. I don't know that that's as clear cut. And Paul wasn't recommending restoring those. He was just recommending restoring the materials budget.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to continue to proceed with caution. And again, we are making some significant savings. And also, you're not going to see all of the book budget spent overnight. It's going to take probably the next 6 months to catch up. I just want to clarify too that what I was asking earlier about the magazine bill and the hoopla bill, that it not be taken out of the 10,000 that we increased the book budget by. But it's starting, I don't know, I think it's better to approach the book budget as a full restoration at this point. The hoopla and the magazine bills are actually due right away. But anyway, I think we can proceed with some of the other savings, with a certain amount of caution at this point.
So there are basically two points of discussion. I initially said to you, Paul, if you and I meet on Monday and be ready for Tuesday to recommend an approval to go back to full spending. And then I asked that if that were the case, would we still have opportunity to review it the following month? And you said yes. And then the discussion seems to be, I think, Marie, you were saying, no, that wouldn't be the case, that you would want to do it all guaranteed to do in this next meeting.
Go
I
ahead.
just think I'd rather err on caution. I don't think there's a dispute here. We can go ahead and order the materials and the books and proceed, but it's the flow of the ordering. If we see a red flag for the following month, can we reevaluate our spending prior to the end of the year?
I think it sounds like that's what Paul would be doing,
Yes.
as a matter of fact, and how he has in the past gone about ordering. He's been
Right.
very good about putting the brakes on in the past and knowing when to, let up on the brake. I whether or not the board has to say, well, I'll look at it this way too. We had a budget, we were spending, the board said,
Right.
freeze it, and it got frozen. If we say, return the money to the materials budget, unthought out, and something happens, which I don't think will, then we can always say, freeze it.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yes.
There's
And,
no, if we open it up and say, give him that authority to completely thaw, it doesn't prohibit anyone saying freeze again.
Right.
I would be in favor of us partially or fully restoring the book budget so that they can order as they see fit rather than having to get permission each time.
Yes, Marie, I think we're all saying the same thing,
Yay.
except my question was, will there still be opportunity if we needed to cut back based on tax revenue or other revenue? And Paul was saying, yes, we can go ahead with it, but there still will be opportunity to control it if needed.
Right.
So I think it's a matter of, I don't know, I'm comfortable.
So maybe we don't need the extra time on
Okay.
Tuesday if we're all in favor. Are we proposing the full amount? Are we proposing that it be restored to 100,000, which would leave, from what Paul said, about 4,000?
We're going to meet on Monday and come up with it, yes. We'll come up with the recommendation on Monday. That's what we just said we would do.
And it sounds like we're already agreeing right now, and we might want to just have that done. But I think Paul's already making that recommendation. And it seems like the three of us are agreeing with that recommendation at this point already.
Yes.
So would we want to, instead of revisiting it again twice next week, go, as a finance committee, we will recommend to the full board that the materials budget be restored? And then we're
Yes.
done.
But
So you-
the
That's
budget
motion.
that we're now operating on, we've
Mhm.
put the modified aside.
Right.
And that's what we are now operating on.
Right. But if we look at it back, again, following the succession of ideas from last month's board meeting, the idea was for the finance committee to meet and to make that recommendation. And it sounds like we are all agreed in making that recommendation. And I would humbly suggest that instead of meeting 2 more times next week, like you and Paul, and then the finance committee meeting 15 minutes earlier, we do this now and make the motion that finance committee recommends to the entire board that the materials budget for 2020 be restored. And did I freeze? Did you all freeze?
No, we can hear you. So is that a motion?
I can't tell.
Yes.
Okay.
Is there a second?
I'll
make the
second
motion.
it.
How's that?
Okay.
2
All-
seconds. Guess
all in
what? We're all
favor?
agreed. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Evelyn.
You're welcome.
We're passed.
Thank you.
So, very good.
So we don't need to meet Tuesday early, just 5 o'clock, correct? Just making sure
Yes,
we
we'll meet
understand.
at 5 o'clock, not
Okay.
4:45.
Bob, I thought you were meeting with Paul on Monday about some of the other information that you didn't have for
Yes,
today,
I do want to meet with you, Paul.
Okay.
but that won't necessarily affect the board meeting on Tuesday.
Right, it will not.
But at least we got this part.
10 o'clock, is that good, Bob?
Say that again, Paul, please.
10 o'clock, is that a good time, Monday?
If we could make it 10:30, I'd appreciate it.
10:30 it is, okay.
Okay, very good. I'll
Yes.
see you then.
Also, I wanted to cover a little bit, people were concerned how the state aid would impact Upper Hudson, and it will impact Upper Hudson, but they are making every effort to not pass along a lot of these things to member libraries.
Yep.
Tim has made up a schedule for automated library costs for next year. And he's really only increased it 2%. Directors were kind of surprised in that we expected a little bit more of a percentage increase for next year. As a matter of fact, a lot of directors specifically said, you know, maybe he should go back to the drawing board and, you know, take a look at that because, you know, we want Upper Hudson to be fully functional next year. I've already budgeted way more than 2%, than a 2% increase, so we're in pretty good shape with that. He is working also on any modifications possible for the delivery, but again has stated that that will not be impacted by the cuts that they're going to see in their budget. So I just want to pass that along. I know people were concerned that the state aid impact was going to, you know, harm us directly, but
Yep, the 2% was the amounts that were in the original contract. It was for when it was first proposed as a 3-year. You know, there was a first year cost, then 2%, then 2%, and it was basically East Greenbush that wanted these second and third year to be determined after more negotiation. But so he's just going with the original. That's pretty good.
well, basically that was
That
because
East
they were
Greenbush was
going to
kind
go
of
back
surprised.
and look at a new formula. And so they just added the 2% on as a placeholder last year. But he also said that it's unlikely that they're going to come up with a new formula for next year anyway. So again, it's going to be a matter of a straight percentage increase.
There seems to be a general concern about state resources as they flow down to other entities. So my assumption is that next year is going to be a challenge year for New York State generally, with the many billions deficit. So I don't know, looking forward to 2021, I think it's very difficult to truly anticipate what the conditions are going to be generally for ourselves and every other entity that's connected to state resources and local resources. So I think we couldn't be better off than we are right now. I think the choice to go ahead with the 2%, although I oppose it, was fortuitous. We didn't get a blowback. And, you know, given our performance and what we anticipate, we're as well as we could be expected to be at this point.
I think people that have expressed concern too about taxes, whether the payment of taxes will be as good next year as this year. I'm disappointed that Mark couldn't be here because, you know, it's always useful to get an update from him since he seems to keep track of that. I did run into Paul Hohenberg and I was asking him, Paul's an economist and has been on the board, what he foresaw, and his reaction was sort of similar to Mark's, that, you know, yeah, you did okay this year, but wait until next year, and that it really depended on the results of the election.
And that might and may be true. We'll see what happens in November, but as of the moment, I did a little bit of research of my own. Mm-hmm. Since a majority, a good portion of our finances, our funding comes from our tax base, And there was that concern voiced about what property taxes were going, how much were going to be collected next year. So I talked to a realtor friend, an assessor friend, a banker friend. Troy is still having a hot streak. Property, it's now a real seller's market. There's not a lot of inventory, and there's a lot of what we've heard of as pent-up demand. Thanks to low interest rates and thanks to that desire, especially because of COVID, for the migration away from larger cities, this is an area that's still going to do really, 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 really well. I asked about the possibility of foreclosures. I asked about the continuation of property taxes, and people need shelter now. I think that's become a mindset of individuals: food and shelter and toilet paper. Not to be facetious, those basic Maslow needs are what people are looking for. And I truly believe in these conversations that our base of funding is going to be stable, certainly for next year and certainly for a few more years. What may happen in the future, no one has a crystal ball. There is no way of really truly knowing. What the assessment is that Troy should be in good shape, and what is in good shape shall continue to be in good shape. That houses right now are going for more than they're assessed for by quite a bit, and that's going to continue for a while. Now, that doesn't change what the tax rate's going to be because it's based on the actual assessment. But people are spending that money, and they're going to want to keep their homes, so they're not going to not be paying their property taxes too. And I might have lost. Oh, there we go. Nope.
Well, I certainly hope you're right, Evelyn.
Yeah, I hope you are too, Evelyn.
And I'm not trying to be a Pollyanna or over optimistic. I'm not that person, or have become. I'm no longer that person. But everything I'm hearing and all the questions I've been asking from all the angles, it seems like things should be stable for quite some time. Not to the point that we should be giddy, but at the point that we can make some more reasoned and appropriate service decisions.
I hope that you're right. I get concerned about tenants that are unable to pay rents and can't be evicted.
Yes.
When that is lifted, the money's not paid will be a part of their debt, and the number of bankruptcies could soar. I think some of the money that's coming into housing is in anticipation of an eroding dollar because of our spending and not bringing in. And it may also be what's holding the market up. People are buying stocks to own something. And it's good to own because you have something tangible that won't be influenced by an erosion of the dollar.
Right.
With 10 to 13 million people unemployed, with businesses every day you pick up, and that's another, movies may not come back, period. Many of the restaurants are going to not be able to reopen and sustain. So I talked to a financier, and he said the recovery will be slow and very long. That's what they anticipate. So if that's the case, it's good to be optimistic, but I think there needs to be a tentative quality to it because none of us know. And there's just so many dreadful things going on financially and in many other ways. So it's a little scary of a time.
No, absolutely. I don't disagree with that.
Right? Yeah. But you're right. Troy is it's a nice place to be right now. Any other comments or discussion? So Paul, I'll see you at 10:30 Monday. We'll reconvene finance on Tuesday at 5, and we'll have a clear proposal.
Okay.
Marie, did you want to add anything?
Nothing I can think of.
All righty.
I have enjoyed having the opportunity to discuss what people think about the future. I think that's useful and something we don't necessarily get a chance to do otherwise in our meetings.
Yes. Yeah, I think that by the way that we've managed our finances in Troy Public Library, I think we paid a lot of attention to threat. We came up with a modified budget. We implemented some of those things. We now find a need we can ease up on caution. That monitoring part of how we're managing the finances, we're just vigilant, and it's a good thing. Any other discussion? We'll adjourn.
Okay.
All righty.
Have a nice weekend, everybody.